I don't know if you've seen the Disney movie Aladdin, but it's one of my favorite films, certainly one of my favorite animated films. Even if you haven't, you're probably familiar with the idea of a genie that you rub the lamp, the genie pops out, and the genie grants you 3 wishes. And I think that's a great idea, and I certainly would love to have a genie and have him grant me 3 wishes. I think the problem is that sometimes we treat God like a genie. Is that we ask for things, we rub the lamp, we hope God pops out, grants our wish, and then just goes away until we need him again. And y'all, that's not a relationship. That's just a transaction. And so I think that maybe you're like me, that I know I've done that in my past, is I've treated God like a genie. But hope is so much different from that. See, the difference between wishing and hoping is that wishing is based entirely on the outcome. We wish for something specific. And if it comes true, we're happy, and if it doesn't, we're sad. But knowing and loving God is so much deeper than that. And the hope that God has for us and the hope that we should have in God is knowing that no matter what happens, no matter the outcome, that God has our back. So let's start there. What are some things that you hope for? I am not the world's best sleeper. Now, trust me, it's not because I don't like to sleep. I love to sleep. I am a professional nap taker. If naps were a sport in high school, I would have been all-state. I would have lettered in napping, as a matter of fact. The reason that I don't sleep very well at night is because when things are quiet, my mind races. I don't know if you're like me in that, but I just don't sleep as well as I'd like at night. But when I was little, I remember that there was always one night of the year where I slept the worst, and it was Christmas Eve. And that may sound a little bit weird, but the reason is that I was so eager, I was so anxious, I was so hopeful for what the morning held that I couldn't get to sleep. I would toss and turn, so expectant for the idea, did Santa Claus bring me what I asked for? Was I naughty or nice? What waited for me in the next room? And I know something that I'm not good at also, and that's waiting. Maybe I'm the only one, but I'm not very good at waiting. And that's because waiting is really, really hard. Let me ask you this question. Let's say you've got slow Wi-Fi on your phone. How long are you typically willing to wait before you become impatient? 5 seconds? 10 seconds? You know, if we're waiting for an app to load, we get super impatient with slow Wi-Fi. We're so used to immediacy in our world. We're so used to asking for something and having it delivered immediately. And God simply isn't like that all the time. And patience is really, really hard. We know that patience is hard. I struggle with it myself. And so when we think about slow internet, that's one thing. But when it's something that we truly hope for, waiting for that is a different story altogether. So ask yourselves this question. Why do we tend to feel so anxious when we hope for something? So we know that there's this really noticeable tension in waiting, and that we don't like it. It doesn't feel great to hope for something and have to wait. But there's such goodness in that waiting. Because in that waiting, God can speak to us. And now look, I have not heard the audible voice of God before. I've never heard God speaking to me from the clouds. But here's what I can guarantee you, is that I have felt God speak to my heart. I've had God speak to my soul. I've had God speak through friends and family. I've had God speak to me through perfect strangers before, and that is without a doubt. I think that sometimes we convince ourselves that if we ask God for something, we pray to God for something so hopeful and so meaningful and so energetic and so passionately, and that He doesn't grant it immediately, we convince ourselves that maybe God isn't listening, or that He doesn't care, or that He's disappointed in us, and that's why it's not happening. Friends, let me tell you this right now. That is just not true. It isn't true. Because God has our back. And I know that we're desperate when we pray for something that we hope for so, so much. But like I said, there is such beauty in that waiting. There's beauty in that patience. And God will speak to our hearts. Maybe you've had it happen to you.